Dear young African comms professional, your future self has something to say. In a fast-moving industry where perception shapes power, the professionals who stand the test of time are those who build with intention, quietly, consistently, and with strategy at the core. Welcome to today's episode of To My Younger Self, the podcast series where Africa's top communication leaders reflect on the roads they've walked and the wisdom they'll pass on to those just starting out. My name is Blessing Emmanuel Macaulay and I am your host. Today's guest is a name that holds weight in Nigeria's PR circles. Adaoha Vivian Njemanze. She is a public relations consultant with over 12 years of experience across strategic communications, media relations, crisis management, and brand strategy. As the founder and principal consultant at Nova Media and Communications, she has led campaigns that don't just trend, but leave impact. From Afrima Awards and TuneCore to Total Energies and Africa Fashion Week Nigeria, Adaoha has played in the big leagues, quietly shaping how African brands are perceived locally and globally. She is a member of NIPR, CIPR UK, and has been recognized on the GLGPR Power List 2024. Her firm has been named PR Agency of the Year and awarded Best in Storytelling for CSR at La Priga 2024. But beyond the accolades is a woman who has learned to navigate pressure, pivot with clarity, and build a career on depth, not just noise. In this episode, she will share what she wishes she knew earlier, the wins, the lessons, and the mindsets that keep her grounded in an industry that never stops moving. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adaoha Vivian Njemanze. Woo!
I'm very excited to be here, and it's always so funny when I'm listening to these introductions over and over again, and I'm like, okay, we've done something. we really did something. Do you get what I mean? And I'm really happy to have this conversation with you as well, because you're someone who's also been part of that journey, and you've also the hustle and the bustle that we've gone through, and every time we would swap stories on our growth and how far we've come, despite the obstacles that we faced along the journey. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here and to speak.
Thank you. And then we'll talk about the times that it just didn't make sense, the time that we were upset with a client, the time that we just went back to cry. And
Absolutely.
After all of that, you just still show up like, yeah, we're doing this.
Absolutely. And that's something that people never really understand. It's really what the difficult side of PR. You have to deal with constant rejection. No matter how big you are, it comes, and then you have to deal with it. You have to deal with the days where your campaigns didn't get you the desired results, So just different things basically that we constantly have to face in this job. Yeah.
So usually I start with another question, but I will get there. However, I want to zoom in on this thing about constant rejection. Now, it doesn't matter how big you get, or even how small you get. Being rejected is a big deal. Nobody wants to be rejected. Now, when you feel rejected, I know that there's that feeling that's that overwhelming feeling that just sometimes seems like this is it, like nobody's seeing me. Maybe my work is maybe I'm not even as good as I think I am. Maybe I'm not worth the stress, or maybe I should just give up and just keep it moving, look for something else to do and everything. There's that sense of loss. What has rejection felt like for you?
So when I first at the beginning of building my business, because it's different when you're working with an organization. So you're just there as a staff. I mean, you do your best, but it's different when you are now at the height of leadership. So you've started your own company, you're building from the scratch, and then you're pitching. The rejection It's never the same thing, you know. And so when I started building Nova and I would get rejected, I used to be so sad. I would be so sad. I would just start questioning myself, you know, is this really the journey? Or, and you know, because when I started my career in public relations, I didn't have a lot of support, you know, compared to the support I have today. I didn't have a lot of support because a lot of people felt like she's just wasting her time. You know, her cousins or family members are in law, they're in medicine, you know. So if it just felt like we're just watching her. It was a thing of, I mean, you can imagine that I had a family member that said, we want to see how far she's going to go before she crumbles. So imagine having people that you that used to be close to you that you actually assumed would, you know, support you and cheer you on. And so I didn't have a lot of that support. So I was very determined to push. So even when the rejection would come, I would start questioning like myself, were they right? Should I just go back and, you know, look for a bigger organization, apply to them, and, you know, start again and just continue? I mean, at least I'll be earning money. I wouldn't be here begging to be seen, begging to be paid, you know. So it was just a number of things for me. And so I used to take the rejection pretty hard. But there's something about me that I've always, I think that's one of my strongest suits. And I would say that I don't, how do I put it? When I get rejected, I go into a reflective mood. So I don't sit down and overrant about it. I just go into a reflective mode. Okay, so why? Was there something that I did wrong? Was it that I'm just not good enough? So I question myself. And when I question myself, I find ways to just cope. I shut down for maybe a day or two and just wake up someday, go for a run, and the energy is back. So that's something that I've always said to people, that I feel like that's part of my superpower, where I don't stay down for too long. I try not to stay down for too long. It's something that I told myself very early on in my career. Don't stay down for too long. You stay down for too long, at some point it takes over your entire mentality and your mood. So it was something that I had to make a conscious effort to ensure that when these things happen, when the rejections or the no's come or whatever, you know, while you might feel down, give it a day or two. Even if you need to take up to a week, take a week. You know, it's for you. But then I come back stronger. That's me. And I try to not reflect. And what I try to do is I take the lesson from that one and I apply it to the next one. So that's something that I've constantly had to discipline myself over and over and over it. So most times, so people would think that, oh, it doesn't touch her. It does. It does affect me. But I've found the way to ensure that I don't stay down for too long. I don't stay down for too long. So that's how I deal with it. Now I'm older and I'm more mature, and so for me it's nothing now. It's even, I feel like it's even worse now the way I handle it. That's why I always tell people, like, please, you know, okay, you didn't get it, okay, no problem. You know, go
Let's
order
keep it
yourself
moving.
some Cold Stone. Yeah, go and order yourself some Cold Stone ice cream. Order shawarma, eat, watch Netflix. Let's just keep it moving. That's me. That's what I feel like I've given this advice so many times. And people are like, how? I'm like, yeah, because you know, if you reflect too much on it, it's going to weigh you down.
Yeah.
So what would make you happy in that moment? Do you want to get some ice cream? Do you want to read a book? Please do what you need to do. Clear your mind. Prepare your mentality for a clean slate and come back. If it's sleep that works for you, shut down and go to sleep. That's the advice that I give. Because one thing you need to understand is that by the time you wake up or by the time you feel a little bit relaxed, you come back with a different mentality. Your mind is clearer, your head is clearer. It's just like when we draft press releases. You know, sometimes we draft it and we just leave it in the draft and we just shut down. And then
Yeah.
you wake up tomorrow and you look at that thing and you're like, oh, I think I don't like this paragraph. I want to change it. So imagine if you give yourself that balance, give yourself that chance to, you know, enjoy the things that make you happy in that moment of sadness. You'll
Yeah.
bounce back fast.
Yeah, and I really agree with this because sometimes we are we can be at the risk of just overthinking this rejection, and then we start spiraling, and it doesn't help because after rejection there's life, there's something else to get to, there's a next thing to get on. So say you apply for a grant, for instance, and then you don't get it. Then because you don't get it, you sit down there and you're spiraling and just wishing, oh, what did I do wrong? And oh, the world hates me and all of that stuff. You actually miss out on the other opportunities that exist, right? So
Just sorry to interrupt. One of the things that I tell anybody that comes to work for me is rejection is part of the job. So I start saying it very early. Rejection is part of the job. However, what do you take from that rejection? There must be a lesson from that, so that when you get an opportunity to do that same task again, you perform it better, or you do something different, slightly different from what you have, but it's part of the job because it's not an African thing. I always tell people, open up your mind to seeing what our colleagues are doing in other parts of the world. And I remember when I had an intern and she felt so sad. 4 months into the job, she's not been able to nail a media pitch. And I said, you have to give yourself some grace, like you have to extend grace to yourself. And just that same period we were having that conversation, I opened X and I saw this very popular PR professional based in America. And she's like, oh my God, that she doesn't even care. She's celebrating a win. She pitched to this big global network 11 months ago and they're just responding to her, ready to take her client. you know.
look at that.
And, she had already, taken them out of her list. So it's, I was like, sometimes you have to be patient and just extend grace to yourself.
Yeah, that's very important. Thank you for sharing that. Now I'll go back to my original first question. How did you get into comms?
So I've always been passionate about media, but and as early as a teenager, but I didn't know what it was called. And then at that time, I was living in the UK, so we had media studies. We had like so many options, but I wasn't sure, what it was called. I just knew I was passionate about this. So I was passionate about two things: wanting to be in media and then studying law. And I think my fascination with law was just case studies. And so I didn't know what it was called. I just knew that it had to do with the media. And so where I started from was by taking a course, A-level course then on media studies. Because when I would speak to my personal study advisor, she would, give me options and say, consider taking this course and seeing how you feel, after one semester. And so it gradually grew. Then I moved back to Nigeria and I came across this popular company in Abuja then. They were called iBlend, and they were pretty popular. They used to throw a lot of events in Abuja, and I was more based in Abuja at that time. And there was something that I liked. The tagline is like, I blend, do you? And that was what they would wear on their t-shirts. So I used to be very curious. I'm like, what's I blend? I want a t-shirt as well. I want a t-shirt. I want to feel among. Let me wear the I blend, and then you turn your back is do you? I was like, please, I need this t-shirt. But I became curious about them, and I went to check them out, studied them, saw their website, and there it was clearly defined what public relations is. They were a public relations firm offering this service, that service. And I'm like, gotcha. So this is basically what I've been trying to define and understand the direction of where my passion is stemming from. And that started a journey for me. And so I went on to school to study media and, got out and just started building gradually. coming up, I didn't really have a lot of support towards my profession, because I come from a family where at some point, you're supposed to study medicine or law and all that. So me saying I wanted to go into media, they felt like, okay, what aspect of media, this one, that one, okay, let's just keep quiet and keep watching her. So working with other organizations, fantastic. When I decided, I think the biggest hurdle that I had to pass was when I decided to start my own company. That was when I knew that more support's minimal, you know, because everybody just felt like, what's she feeling like, what's she trying to do? Like, she should better than apply to companies to work. And it was so hard. It was so hard. No mentorship, nothing, absolutely nothing, and no one to hold my hand and say, let me take you into these rooms. Let me walk under, just let me shadow me. There was absolutely none of that. And so I always say to people that at some point I learned a lot about the public relations industry from University of YouTube. Because everything that I needed to know and guide me at the difficult moments I found on YouTube. So I wasn't just moving around with a smartphone and saying, oh, I'm one of the people, I have iPhone. My iPhone was useful. It was my office. It was everything. I mean, I remember then a friend of mine even nicknamed me Walking Office. So it was YouTube. I would pour through the Public Relations Society of America. They had a lot of mock videos. I would just go through these different videos just to learn more, So even when I have certain feelings about something, a mixed reaction or mixed emotions about something, I'm going back there. So it was a lot of things. And as I started growing, I said, there has to be a Nigerian community for public relations professionals, that I can meet, network, connect with. I'm sure people also have similar stories to my journey, and that was when I came across PR Can. And I came across PR Can and, saw the requirements that I need to have to be able to join. And that's where I now heard of NIPR. I never heard of NIPR before. But I think at that same time, what PR Can also opened up was some top level professionals in the industry that I started following on LinkedIn, Instagram, just following their journey. And I mean, I already knew some of their companies, but in terms of following these individual leaders was what I now started doing, because following them also kind of gave me some clarity, because, some of them were very generous with sharing their knowledge, how they've built their built in their profession to the level that they've attained at that time. So some of these things also, helped. And then I started coming up, went to NIPR, wrote the exams, met a lot of professionals. We would sit down, we would discuss this stories, the challenges, the pros, the cons, stuff like that. Moved on, connected with Nigerian women in PR, and then the journey has just been. So it was connecting with different communities, the Comms Avenue, just different things that, started helping in terms of, sometimes getting more clarity and seeing that, oh, I'm really not alone. And then you're having conversations with other professionals who sometimes also come with different perspectives that also help you shape your mind towards a feeling of doubt or success or progress generally in the profession. So that's how I basically got to the stage that I am in my career.
So if you had one thing to say to your younger self in 2025, you would tell her to join a community.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think so when we say join a community, it's not, we have introverts and extroverts in our profession. And I feel like I'm one of the people that went from being an extreme extrovert to being an introvert, where I can't be bothered to do certain things anymore. And that the reasons why the community of PR professionals also helped, because in having that conversation, you're sharing your story, they're sharing their story, so you realize that you're not alone. And sometimes you also ask questions, because you see, the goal of community is not just to meet and network, it's also to learn from each other and to share opportunities. And that was something that, without a community, it would have been slightly tricky, to do that. And so I would say a community, it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, to join a community. You don't have to be at every event. You don't need to be at every event, but take out time to attend some events. And when you go to these events, speak to the person sitting next to you. Have a conversation, introduce yourself to the person. You just never know where that conversation would take you. If you have one or two core people within your community, I think you're good. Everyone doesn't need to be your friend or be within your community, but at least be in that community. Learn from people, learn from older professionals. That's one of the biggest way to scale up.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Yeah, and I mean, like you know it. I don't show up everywhere.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
it can be very exhausting.
Exactly. I mean, and it's not everywhere that I also show up, to be honest with you, because we also have lives. We have jobs, we have families. There's a lot to balance in our lives. So yeah, that's why I said, I mean, you don't show up everywhere, but you do show up.
Yeah. So
you show up, you connect.
Yeah, I also think that if you're not able to show up physically, where you get a chance to show up virtually, then you should take advantage of it as well, because we also we're not trying to say, oh, these networks or physical meetups are not important. No, that's a lie. And I would be lying to you if I say that on the days that I don't show up physically, I'm not showing up virtually, because I also show up virtually. If I know that I don't have the time, or I just don't even have the mental power to go to that physical space, then I just join virtually. So show up physically, virtually.
And that's what I was saying, that whether you're showing up physically or not, I mean, the communities have different activities that they always put out: physical, virtual, and then they also bring in older professionals that speak to, they host different webinars and stuff like that. It's a constant learning process. You're constantly learning. You're constantly connecting with people, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
I 100% agree. Let's talk about a time that you hit a wall. Yeah. What was that time, and how did you come back from it?
So COVID. So before COVID, Nova was on a slow growth process. We were gradually growing and building. And when we had signed what we thought was a very big client before COVID, and we were working, everything seemed to be going okay, and then COVID hits. And everybody says, nope, we're working. We don't know what the future holds. And everybody just zoom. And at the same time, I had injured my back. So I'm alone with an injured back. I can barely stand straight. I'm in a lot of pain. There is COVID, and I have 0 clients. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's just to pack my bags
and go to your daddy's house.
No, you're saying go to daddy's house. I have a visa. Let me leave. I'm gonna start life all over again. Mm-hmm. Because it was one of the lowest. I couldn't even think. I couldn't function. And at that time, a friend just says, oh, why don't we strategize together? roadblock, everything blocked. I could not think, I couldn't function because I had hit rock bottom. And you're dealing with physical pain. You're alone. There's COVID. There's a lot of people don't talk about the mental torture and the mental stress that came with COVID. Because I'm also in Lagos and I'm thinking about my mom in the East, who sometimes can be very stubborn. And, they're still, oh, wait, I spoke to my friend. Oh, I went to visit my neighbor. And, at that time, it was, there was this news thing that it was like it was hitting the old elderly people. So it is just so much going on. So
I can imagine.
I could not function. I'm in pain. I can't go out. I can't go to the hospital because I'm not allowed in the hospital except for people that had COVID. So at that time, and that's part of where, even the connecting with people and building relationships, at that time, it was one of my big ogas, because they had the press tag that they could move around. So he would be the one that would come by sometimes every 2 days. He would drop some pain meds for me, food, and some money for me to just be able to function. So at that time, there was nothing. There was no strategy. There was nothing. There was nothing that I could say, let me sit down and think and reach out to this brand and tell them, these are the conversations that organizations are having now in this COVID era that is testing, that is showing that they are empathetic to the issues people are going through. And I couldn't function. I couldn't think. I was like, what's going on? And so it was a hard time for me. It was a moment where, when I look back today, I'm very proud to say I'm a strong woman because it was 5-6 months of pain, torture, and then I think I've made the mistake of now even trying to. I didn't get some of my physiotherapy, so I now had a swollen back. So it was just a lot of things, and luckily, and then just one day, someone that has been following me on Instagram, we don't talk. You just have random people that follow you, sends me a DM and says, "Can I have your number? I need to speak to you about a job." And I was reluctant because in my mind I'm like, I can't even. And I used to write. I couldn't even put my thoughts together to even write a normal article. So what do you want us to work on together? I'm thinking of when they're going to open the airspace. Let me book a flight and be like,
Just
that meme is it will be. I think, that was the wavelength I was on at that moment. And he calls me and he starts telling me about his client, and we proceed to have a very lovely 30-minute conversation where he took his time to explain certain things and what he was looking to gain and how he didn't want to work with anybody else except me. And he's like, I've been following you for about 2 years. So I've been seeing how you work and I just really want to work with you. I can go to the bigger guys, but there's just something about how you walk and how you carry yourself. That was just the single moment that restored some confidence and, started easing down the block that I was going through. And I went on to work on that project. And that was one of the first of many that now kicked up a lot of projects for me post-COVID. I mean, we were still on lockdown, but it was that confidence that I didn't see in myself. I didn't have in myself in that moment. I didn't even think that it was going to come back. A complete stranger. When I say we have not done anything beyond liking each other's post for almost a year on Instagram, but this person has been watching that says, "Oh, you must handle this project. I believe that you can do it for me." And that was how the roadblock was gone. That was it.
So let me talk about something you mentioned. You talked about confidence. Now, I imagine that this phase chipped at your confidence a lot, because there's the physical pain, there's the mental pain, there's the emotional pain, there's the worry about your mom that's far away from you, and then every other thing. But in a situation where somebody that's listening to this conversation doesn't even have somebody to say, see, I see what you're doing, come on, work with me on this particular project, and all they have is just themselves, how do you think they can walk back from a place of downtime, all-time low, to picking up their confidence all over again?
Yeah. I think that's such a great question. So I remember, a lot of things that have happened in my life to an extent have revolved around the work that we do. So I remember this client that I worked with at some point. It was a big artist, and we would do stuff and we would feel like maybe he wasn't appreciating it in that moment and everything. And I remember one day we were all having a long conversation, and he says, you see, I see you guys. I see the work that you do. I might not acknowledge it at every point, but I see you. And so, but what I want you people to do is have confidence in yourself. Don't always wait for me to say, well done. Have confidence in yourself that you can do it. Have confidence in yourself that if I drop this thing on your table, Blessing is going to kill it. Ada is going to kill it. Don't always wait for me to say, oh, I saw that thing that you guys did, well done, guys, because it's not always going to come. So you need to be able to build a mindset that you give yourself kudos. You pat yourself on the back, for a job well done, because that's one of the biggest ways to build your confidence. That's one of the ways that you want to fight imposter syndrome, which a lot of us go through. So he just kept saying that. And for me, that stuck. I always say to people, wait, you need to understand something about life. What I do for myself, I think I've said this to you privately. For every conversation that I have with people, I take out something. I always take away something. If I don't have anything to take away from the conversation with you, it might be tricky getting me back to have that conversation again.
I know.
you know me, Blessing. So I always like to learn from every conversation. Young or old person, I don't care who you are. I like to learn. I like to take away something, because people are walking around with a vast wealth of knowledge. And when he said that to me, I didn't hear anything else in the 3-hour conversation that we had. All I heard was, you need to learn how to pat yourself on the back. You need to be able to build that confidence for yourself. People are not always going to be there to cheer you. They're not always going to be there to give you the pep talk. So you need to find ways to give yourself the pep talk. You need to find ways to constantly increase your confidence, even when you're when you're feeling low in life. Find different channels that you can key into, because sometimes we don't have people around us. So you always have to find something to key into. That's why you see people that are very big on words of affirmation. If that is a booster for them before that big presentation or that big campaign, fantastic. You constantly have to find a way. And so that was what put me on the journey that I am now. So I don't wait for people to tell me, oh, well done. I don't wait for people to give me my credits. It doesn't remove a strand of hair for me. I keep moving. That's why I said, whether with rejection or whatnot, what I have done is I've built different channels in how to deal with different emotions in my life. As you get older, you have to find ways to deal, because when we say, oh, there's that balance, to an extent, on some days, you're not going to find the balance.
True.
So you have to find ways to constantly, oh, this is what is going to cheer me, or this is how I build my confidence. And me, I listen to podcasts. I like to pray a lot. I talk to myself a lot. So even on the hard days, I talk to myself a lot. I knock myself a lot. It's like, Ada, what's wrong with you? Why did you do this thing like this? Like, what's going on? You know, you could have done this better. So I do that. I pep talk myself a lot. And that has helped me. So you don't have to. I get it. People are different. Personalities, some people sometimes need someone to hold their hands, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But what I would say to every young professional listening to this, start pep talking yourself. Give it a try. It could start with 30 seconds. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Even if it's just a chant in your head, I can do this. I can do this. There's nothing there now. Like, what's going on? I've done this before. Or you know that thing that our parents used to tell us in primary school? You did not come first. You came third. The child that came first, how many heads do they have?
We have 2 heads.
You get what I mean? So start by, giving yourself that pep talk. Look out for the people that you are inspired by their journey, whether it's professional or personal. Look at them. There's always something to pick. Pick something, even if it's just a sentence or a paragraph. Pick that, repeat it. If you need to write it and have it on the walls around your room, you just pep talk yourself. And it's always easier in the mornings and even on the days that you're feeling rejected. Give yourself that pep talk, because believe me, the moment you keep practicing it, it sticks. And it's going to go a long way in helping you with your confidence, for every single time you have something big to get through. Yeah.
Thank you. And it reminds me of this thing about self-talk, hyping. Reminds me of a time in my life where I describe that year as my worst career year, and I'd just been about one year into the comms thing, and I didn't even know that I wanted to. I wasn't even sure where I was. I was just working in this organization, and it was very hard for me to. It was a struggle. That period was a bit of a struggle, and one thing that I found out and I continued to do was being able to look at myself and write out confessions for myself. And every morning as I walked into the office, I went straight into the bathroom and I just read all of those things to myself. And one of the things that a few of them are: my work is good. My work is excellent. I do my work as I'm doing it unto God, and my work produces great results. And it was a long list, but I kept doing that. And every day I got to the office. Of course, on some days I missed it, but every day I got into the office and I had some time to get to it, I would just go and then say it. And it felt like a ritual, right? I needed to do it. I felt like if I didn't do it, my day would not go according to plan. And I did it consistently over a period, and all of a sudden it began to reflect even on my skin, even on my outlook, even in my mind. And this is what, now almost 10 years later, I still remember that, and I remember that my work is good. So even when I'm going through a phase that doesn't feel like, oh, you didn't deliver something, or someone comes and says, oh, this is the issue with your work, I go back to say, no, my work is good. And because my work is good, I will show you the good in my work. And eventually I am able to show the person the good in my work. So I can completely understand that psyching yourself, because it is very important. Very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things I just wanted to say, because it's like, I remember when we first met, and it's like, you have the confidence that you used to move, you would move in, you move with a lot of confidence, even when you talk to people. And it's something that I noticed very early. And I used to, even when the days that you're feeling down, or that we will talk, I'm like, listen, I don't know what you're worried about, though, because I'm not worried about you. Like, I feel like you just need to sleep. get some rest, and
Yeah.
then tomorrow, come back because you're not. This is not you. I just need you to rest for a bit and come back tomorrow because tomorrow I know that I would have someone that is. I'll have the main blessing that I know, and I
Yeah.
will go through these moments, and that's the thing because you have to. We're in a job where it's fast paced, so a lot of things are happening fast. Um, almost every year we have like new trends, so there's just so much.
Yeah.
So you have to find ways. You have to find ways to constantly remind yourself that you're made for it. You're made to do this, and you can do this every single time that it hits your table. Because you see that thing that what people do not know is as you climb higher in your career, the job becomes harder.
Mm-hmm. A new level of harder. you know, I think I needed to say that because the person that just stepped into comms is thinking this is just hard, this is stressful. But as it gets higher, as you go higher, as everybody celebrates the wins, the stakes are higher.
The stakes are a lot higher. So you have to constantly prepare your mind, and that's why you need to find ways to. Because you see another thing, you find not just pet talking yourself. Remember that we're dealing with humans. We have clients, right? They could be corporate brands or individual brands. And sometimes I jokingly say our job is sometimes we're client shrink, family mediator, we're everything.
Everything.
So if you're not pet talking yourself and giving yourself that confidence that you can actually do this, how do you want to pet talk
your client.
that is worried about perception? What are they going to think of me? How do you think I should say this? And do you think I look good? Do you think so? You have to. So when you're moving with that confidence, your confidence will wear off on your client.
Yeah.
By the time you're holding your client's hand and you're guiding your client and you're pep talking your client, it wears off. It just transfers.
Yeah.
So you have to constantly. That's why I said pep talk. Gradually. I can do this. I can do this. Mention your name. I can do this. This is easy. This comes easy to me. And you gradually would get there.
Yes, you will. Now we will go to our live reflection session. Onyikonsola, you have the mic.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Listen, thank you so much. I'm just here shaking my head because it's just a lot of thinking. Thank you so much for the wisdom passed.
Thank you.
So, at the beginning, right, you mentioned about how passionate you are with the media, but you did not know what exactly it is. You don't want name to put to it or what area to go exactly. So I feel like most people have like such problem. For me, I think that's one of my major problems. I'm so passionate about everything media. When it comes to advertising, PR, I want to be there when you're talking about what copy. I want to be there when you're talking about how the art direction should go and the rest of that. And I'm like, okay, I have to pick one. I currently work as a radio presenter for mainland FM, and I'm like, yes, I'm here, but like, I still want more. Like, this is just one part of the media. I want to be everywhere. So, how do you, for someone that is so multi-passionate, how do you now, calm yourself down? How do you now say, okay, I want to pick one, and I hope that this one, will lose weight to the rest of them?
So the thing about public relations that I love. And that's part of where the main passion is, the storytelling. You don't go wrong with public relations. Public relations is about storytelling. You're telling stories. You're telling stories that can stem from a passionate side of a client who is trying to maybe reach out to a community or whatever their target audience is. And so that's one thing about public relations is that power that you have to tell that story, to control that narrative. You might not fully get it with you might not fully get it in other aspects, of when you talk about communications, right? However, as we keep evolving, The public relations industry, first of all, is very vast. So you might be passionate about media relations, you might be passionate about strategic comms, corporate comms. You have to find, I'm very big on learning everything, but you have to find a niche because you're not going to be able to do everything. In public relations alone, there are different aspects of it. There are people that work in government relations, consumer PR, and there are some people that would never touch it. And there are people that work in, people don't even know much about financial PR. There's the financial side of it, especially when it comes to stakeholder management and consulting and everything. When so it's a lot. You have to you have to ask yourself these questions. What is that thing that, if you tap me from a deep sleep and say, Ada, what can we do about this? It comes. That's part of where you drive your passion from, right? Because you can't do everything. We really cannot do everything. We can dabble and dabble in some, but we can't do everything. So you have to ask yourself, look at the different categories in public relations. Where are the areas that I think I would most enjoy? Pick those ones. Make it like a thing. Pick a top 5. Pick your top 5. Write down on paper. What do I like about these categories of public relations and why? Come up with a case study or look at a real life case study and ask yourself, if I were to do this, what would I have done different? Then look at advertising, look at marketing, do the same thing. And then ask yourself, when you've looked at all your papers, ask yourself, what is going to give me the most impact if I'm to work in any of this? And what's going to give me the most satisfaction if I'm to deliver this for a client? And when I mean satisfaction, I'm not talking about just the results. I'm talking about you as a person. Because delivering results is one thing, but you as a person, when you find out that there are people that would get the results, but they're not very happy. They're just there functioning in the name of that's life. But something that when you deliver it and you see that this has made an impact in your target audience life, your client's life, it's also made an impact to you. And then you weren't just there to perform a job, but you also learned, you took something away from it. When you're able to sit down and look through these things, you're going to find a direction. And then you find people who are excelling in those fields and speak to them as well. Speak to them. But one thing I would say is be very open-minded to learning. Be open-minded to learning, but understand that you can't do it all. Okay. You can't do it all. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
okay.
I think
Thank you, Ada, and thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I think my sound went off for a bit. You're welcome.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so it's time for your letter.
Okay. So what does my letter entail?
Write your letter to your younger self.
So, dear younger self, right? Or dear professional younger self?
Dear Ada, talk to the girl that just started comms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, dear Ada, you're gonna come back to this letter in some years, and you're going to laugh, and you're going to shake your head, and you're going to ask yourself, did I really write this? But one of the first things that I would say to you is be kind to yourself. Extend grace to yourself. Be kind because what you're going through, other people are going through that. Be kind to yourself because you're going to learn. You're going to continuously learn. And don't be too hard on the days that you do not get it right. But use that experience to prepare for the future. Meet people. Have conversations. Don't shy away in your room with your laptop all the time. Meet people, have conversations. Um, Network, but network in the sense that you're networking for growth. Do not just show up because you've been asked to show up. Show up and make sure that your presence is felt, and your presence is felt in the direction or I spoke to two people today, and this is what I learned from the two people. Show up because you need it for yourself. It's going to pay off in the future. Show up because if you don't, nobody's going to show up for you. Show up because how do you want to collaborate if you do not show up? Write more. Continue writing more. You've always been a writer, so why stop halfway? Write the good and the bad, because you can always come back and reflect on your words. You can always come back and reflect on your thoughts, and your words will always find a way in I would say always find a way in giving you some directions based on the journey. Remain ambitious. You've always been ambitious, but remain ambitious. That passion never dims. Do not, even on the hard days, on the days where you feel like it's hard, remain ambitious. Continue learning. Keep learning. The world is always growing. There's always going to be something. So never think that you know it all. So keep learning. Be very open-minded to learning new things, learning about how to deal with people, learning how to be a team player, learning about every single thing about and every single one. Keep learning. And finally, don't stop reading. Don't stop reading, because from reading literally about anything, conversations start. You can start a conversation with anyone in any room that you find yourself. So never stop reading. That is one of your superpowers. Yeah, I think that's it. And then would revisit the letter in 10 years' time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I hope that someone in 2025 or even 2027 can read that letter and say, I'm glad I read it, because Ada is here in the future and she'll tell you that even though it gets harder as you go up because the expectations are higher, still you will win, because trust me, Ada is winning.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I mean, just do not be afraid to fail. That's one major thing I would say to any young professional and to even my younger self. Do not be afraid to fail. The failure would shape the experience that you would have in coming years. So do not be afraid. Generally, do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. And I'll add to that, do not overthink. That's something I would tell my younger self. Thank you.
But you know that to an extent, overthinking is a bit of it comes with the job.
Yeah, so it comes with the job, but yeah, it does. But it also comes with, a sense of perfectionism. It also comes with
absolutely
fear, and then all of the vices that come with it.
Yeah.
So it's okay when you think from a strategic point of view, but don't think yourself into analysis paralysis.
Oh yes.
Because that way you end up not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Thank you, Ada. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed having the conversation with these beautiful ladies. Thank you.
There is something powerful about hearing a seasoned professional say, I hit the wall and then I found my way back. In this conversation with Adaoha Njemanze, we were reminded that even when every path seems possible, the real journey is choosing one path and staying rooted in your why. We talked about what it takes to build confidence, to self-hype when no one is clapping yet, and to let curiosity guide you without you losing your core. We talked about learning continually and intentionally. We talked about community, the kind that gives you the room to grow. And of course, we talked about grace. Grace for your past self, grace for your present doubts, and grace for the future you are still becoming. If you are standing at a crossroads or quietly trying to find your rhythm again, I hope that this episode reminded you that you are not behind. You are just in process. Thank you for tuning in to My Younger Self. If this conversation spoke to you, share it with someone that needs to hear it. And if you have a letter to write to your younger self, write it. We just might feature it. Until next time, take your time, trust your path, and keep choosing you.
To My Younger Self is brought to you by PR Fusions Africa in collaboration with Comms Mentorship Circle.